So in this video, we're going to talk about the member functions for the file streams called get and put. So these are similar to the insertion operator, right? It's similar to the extraction operators and the insertion operators, except when we would do something like this, say we have 3 integers. Actually, let's make these characters. Say we have 3 characters, X, Y, and well, it should be semicolons. So say we have 3 characters, X, Y, and Z. If we were to do something like this, CN X, Y, X, Y, and Z inside our program, and then the user types A space B space C, and then if we did an output of those, C out X, Y, and Z, then we would get something like this, right? This would output A, B, C, right? The insertion operator skips, the extraction operator skips the spaces and goes to the next character. But sometimes we probably don't want to do that. Let's say we had a file, and I'm going to call this my input file, and I had this output file. And let's say my input file looks something like this. A, and then B, and then C. If I was trying to copy everything from my output file into my, everything from my input file into my output file, if I was using the extraction operator, if I was doing it in this way, let's say I did a loop, I'll say while, well, before I set that up, let me just set up my input streams and my file input and output streams. So let's say I have my input stream, and then I say n.open input.txt, and I have my output, that's going to be OF stream. And in here, I'm going to open my output. All right, so say I have that. And now if I wanted to copy this over, and let's say I was using the insertion, the extraction and insertion operators, I would do something like this, while in next, and then I would do something like out dot, not dot, I'll do out next. Right, so what is going to happen is this is going to continually grab what's in this input file, and it's going to output it to the output file. If my code looked like this, then it will take in the A, and then it will write the A here. Then it's going to take in the B, and it's going to write the B here. And then it will take the C, and it will write the C here. And notice it didn't really copy the file right, because now I have a file here where the letters were line separated, and in this file they're actually all together. So that is actually not copying the file that we want, because the extraction and insertion operator automatically skips empty spaces, so it will see these as three different characters. But in actuality, this is actually four different characters. We have the A, we have the new line, right? So right here we have A, and then we have a new line character here, which we can't see. Then we have B, and we have a new line character here, and then we have C. And so that's actually five different characters, right? And for those of you who don't remember, the new line character actually looks like this. But we don't see it because it's not something that's printed. What it does is it brings the carriage over to the next line. So the extraction operator actually ignores those characters, and that's why we would get a result like this where it's not actually copying the file properly. So to resolve this, we can use the get function, right? So we can actually do this while in dot get next, and then we can say out dot put next, right? And so that will actually read every character. So it will first look at the A, and it's going to put the A in here. Then it's going to see the new line character, and it's going to put a new line character in there. Of course, we won't see that print. Then it's going to see the B, and it's going to put a B here because the new line actually moved a character to the new line. Then it's going to put a new line character, and then and then we'll have a C. And so that's the difference between using the insertion operator and the member functions get and put. There's also a function here called put back. And put back is useful. Say we're using a loop and we want to stop when we get to a particular character. So let's say we're in our loop and I want to say while next is not equal to the new line character. Right, so let's say inside here I want to put something in my new file. So I will say in dot get next. Actually, let me do my output first. So I'll say out dot put next, and then I will get the next. And so let's just say the first thing we do is get next. So that next has a value before we try to check it in our while loop. All right, so I get next, and then I'm checking for it to be the null character. And so this is going to go until it's not equal to the null character. Then when this stops, this is equal to the null character, right? So that means that if I have my input file here, and I said null character, I meant new line. So let's say I have my A, B, and my C. And so it's going to stop when it gets to the new line character. So that means it's actually going to stop right here, right? It'll stop right here. Let me just put a little arrow there. This is where it stopped. Now, if I wanted to actually do something with this new line character, I actually can't really do anything with that, because next time I run in dot get next, this new line character is that the stream is actually going to be here now. But what if I don't want it to be here? What if I wanted to just stop my loop when it got there, but then I wanted to continue from this place? That's when we use in dot put back. And that will allow us to start our next stream from the new line character rather than from the character that's after, which would be B. And I know that's really confusing, so I'm going to try to repeat that one more time. Right, so if I am in this loop and my loop says to stop when I get a new line character, that means that the last thing that my input got was the new line character. So that means the next time I call get, it's going to get B, because that would be the next thing to get. But if I wanted the next thing to get to actually be the new line character, then I use the put back function so that it puts me back here, so that the next thing I get is the new line character. It would actually put me back here. So the next thing that I get is going to be the new line character. And so that's basically what put back is. All right. The next thing I'm going to talk about is the EOF function. And this function is a Boolean function that basically lets us know when the input stream has reached the end of the file. All right, it returns true when, returns true when ifstream reaches the end of the file. Oh, I can't even read that, sorry. Right, so EOF stands for end of file. And basically the way that we use that, before we show that we can say while in next, right? And that's why it still has characters to read. We also saw something like this, while in dot get next. And this is pretty much the same thing. While there's still characters in the file to get. But an alternative that we can use would be while in, we don't want to say while. We want to say while it's not at the end of the file. While we're not at the end of the file, then we can just execute some code. As soon as the file reaches the end, as soon as the input string reaches the end of the file, then this loop will stop. So that is pretty much end of file. Some other things that I mentioned are some character functions. I'm not going to go over all of them, but there are some useful functions that you can use. One is alpha, and that checks if the character is A through Z. A through Z or A through Z. We also have to upper. And this basically will convert the character to uppercase. There's is digit. And this will check if the character is actually a number. There is also is lower. And of course, is lower is the same thing. It convert it. Excuse me, not is lower. It's to lower. Well, there is lower as well. So since I wrote it down, this checks if it's a lowercase number. Um, Also, the secret word in this video is delightful. All right, and we are going to look at some more functions. There's is space, and this pretty much checks to see if this is a white space character. Um, if character is a white space. And what white space means is, there could be a tab, right? Did we tab? Um, did we make a space? Did we make a new line? What are some other? Yeah, those are basically the only ones. So, if pretty much if it's a non-printing character, it will check to see if that exists. All right, and thank you for watching.